Hey friend, it's KT. I am seated upon an entire empire, the Ottoman Empire. I'm sitting here because I want to talk to you about the Adventure Force Pyroraptor, a blaster that I was very, very excited about, but that has unfortunately fallen flat in my expectations for very specific reasons that I will get to later in this video. I'm going to do an overview of the blaster first, and then I'm going to get into some specific comparisons about where some of the features of this blaster came from and why it had promised to be an in-between point between sport and hobby foam flinging blasters and toys that could really have opened up the hobby for kids, and why it's going to be very difficult for it to do that, but why I have a lot of hope for the future. So I encourage you, if you have any interest in this blaster, to stick around and watch the entire video. Be sure to like this video and subscribe. I'll also have my 1-minute review of this out soon, and more content like this discussing sort of the relationship between this is a toy and this is a hobby. Check me out on other social media as well. There's other videos of me testing this and firing it out there, so be sure to check that out. For now, let's dig right into it. So the Pyroraptor is a magazine-fed Springer with a pump grip up front and a movable stock in the back. It's interesting because it's essentially a toy, but it has all of these features that we typically expect out of blasters that we see adults and older kids using in the hobby. The most obvious comparison is to another Adventure Force product, the Nexus Pro. They share their buffer tube stock, which is removable. You can see that they have the same stock attachment point, and although it can be a little bit finicky, the stock from the Pyroraptor does fit on the Nexus, and vice versa. And this is a widely used way to attach stocks, so that is shared by airsoft and firearms. So it actually opens up a lot of stock options. This blaster's gonna make millions. Now, it's hard to imagine putting a different stock on it because this one is so cosmetically fit to the blaster, but you can do it for comfort reasons. Moving forward, it has, in my opinion, a really nice grip. It's not the most ergonomic thing on the planet, but my hand fits in it comfortably, and my kids picking it up feel very comfortable with it. I love the addition of this claw talon situation here that makes it look like the Pyroraptor's foot. The trigger has a strong metal spring, it feels really good, and the mag release is in a pretty easy spot, and I just gravity dropped my magazine on accident. So that tells you it works pretty well. This grip and mag release layout is comparable to the Nexus and a wide variety of other blasters. So it's pretty stock fare for a hobby blaster, and we see it here on a toy. Next up, the magazine itself is a common N-Strike compatible full dart magazine. But even more importantly, this magwell, even though it has a funny shape to it, is very normal on the inside. So every magazine that I've tried with this, Nerf magazines, Buzzme magazines, other Dart Zone Adventure Force magazines, all seem to work. So here we are in post because I completely botched my explanation of how a skinny pusher works. But this is a really interesting feature that I was very surprised to find out that this blaster had. Here's a long shot, and you'll notice that the pusher is quite wide. It is in fact wider than the dart itself. And you can kind of force a magazine over it, but it doesn't really want to go. But if you take a look at the pusher on the Pyroraptor, you can see that it's skinnier than the space between the feed lips on the magazine. So even with the magazine loaded, you can just pop it right in there. This is a really great feature for ease of use. It's something that we enjoy a lot in advanced blasters in the hobby, and so to see it on something that's more toy oriented, it just reduces errors when kids are trying to use a magazine-fed blaster, which is a skill that needs to be acquired. Also, while I'm here recording things that I forgot to say when I was first recording this video, this blaster has slam fire. I've mentioned this in a couple of my short videos about it, but I figure I should say it in the review. That means if you hold down the trigger and you pump this, it'll just keep firing. Now, the loading mechanism itself works its way into a sealed breech, which means that the dart is pushed into an area by the pusher, and then there's actually an O-ring on the pusher that creates a seal so that no air can escape around the dart as it's being pushed out. It makes the blaster more efficient. Normally in a blaster like the Skewer or the Nexus Pro, it's paired with a sealed barrel, which makes more use out of the full amount of air available in the plunger tube. So you have air pushing the dart the entire length of the way down the barrel. The fact that this has a sealed breech means that you have the possibility of modding a sealed barrel onto it, but as it stands, it just has a wide open faux barrel. It's wide enough that you're not getting a lot of drag out of the faux barrel, but it's not doing you any favors either. The blaster up top has no tactical rails. This is much more of a toy thing, and it has this giant handle on top, obviously very much a toy thing, but they still managed to work in a sling mount up here at the top of the back of the handle. It's the only sling mount on the blaster, but that's fine. The fact that they even included one, I think, is important. And finally, a feature that's perfectly common, but that is generally associated with hobby-style blasters is it having a pump grip. This is a reasonably good pump grip. It's pretty small for my adult hand, but I can put a finger on the front and it's perfectly comfortable to use. Pump grips have been kind of a preferred method of priming for hobbyists for quite a while. Here is a long shot that's been modified with a pump grip using retaliator slide parts. So this idea of taking a bolt prime or rear prime blaster and modifying it to have a pump grip goes way back. And the idea of having a pump grip was sort of solidified with the Nexus, as the Nexus is sort of taken over as the dominant off-the-shelf option for hobby-level foam flinging. So even though there's plenty of toys that do use pump grips, having it on a toy like this that also has the buffer tube stock, that also has the skinny pusher, makes this feel like, in some ways, a toy version of the Nexus. So we've pointed out all the things that the Pyroraptor borrows from the hobby world. In what ways is it still a toy? Well, we talked a little bit about the cosmetics. We've got this flowing dinosaur shape. My kids, when they saw this, immediately noticed the gold paint. This might seem like a minor thing, but the gold paint is really eye-catching. It's a cool feature to have both here on the front barrel as well as back here on the stock. We also mentioned the carry handle, which is definitely very much a toy feature. But the most important toy feature is that the performance on this blaster is in the 70 to 80 FPS range. So for comparison, a stock Nexus Pro shoots around 150 feet per second, and your general off-the-shelf Nerf brand blaster shoots in the range of 70, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. So this is just a tiny bit above that, which makes it a reasonable indoor toy and also perfectly good to take to an outdoor Nerf battle between kids. So for all of those reasons combined, I was really excited to see the Pyroraptor hold sort of an in-between introductory role between toy blasters and sport and hobby blasters. It's got the form factor of those blasters while still having an absolute toy appearance. It's a beautiful blaster. I think it looks gorgeous. But having the feature set that it has with this appearance and with this performance level could have put it in a really solid in-between area. Hobbyists can love this blaster because it does have a lot of mod potential. Unfortunately, I'm really frustrated by a major flaw in this blaster, and it has less to do with the design of the blaster itself and more to do with how it's been marketed and how it's been packaged. And I want to talk for a second here about the first 10 minutes. And you have to put yourself in the shoes of a kid here who has gone to Walmart or Target or wherever with their parents and convinced them to buy them this one toy. Most larger blasters, regardless of brand, tend to cost in the realm of $40 to $50, as this one does. So it's a significant purchase. It's not a small deal. The Pyroraptor, although it has a lot of the features of Pro blasters, it is definitely not one of Adventure Force's Pro line Dart Zone blasters, the ones that shoot over 100 FPS. As a result, it comes with Adventure Force waffles. Now, Adventure Force waffles have been recognized as a superior dart to the Nerf Elite dart, and in blasters in which they're compatible, they perform significantly better. They work best in front-loading blasters and flywheeler blasters because they have a nice wide head that puts some extra weight on the front end of the dart and makes them fly a little farther and be significantly more accurate than an Elite dart. So with that in mind, I'm going to show you some footage from the first time I took this blaster out to try to fire it. I had decided to do these tests because of some issues I had while I was trying to chronograph this blaster the first time. All right, so I am outside with the Pyroraptor. The box promises 80-foot shots with this. I'm loading it with chilies, which are essentially comparable to the Adventure Force waffles that it comes with. We are, what, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 feet away from that pile of little targets out there. So theoretically, I should be able to just launch darts over the top of that target. Let's see what happens. That was about 60 feet. 60 feet again, pretty consistent. So now I'm gonna arc it. That was a little bit over 70 feet. So it's definitely possible to reach 80 with this, but you're not hitting any targets that way, you know? That was an interesting jam. Not sure what happened there. I'm getting a lot of whirly shots with this. That one was nice and straight. I will say they're actually grouping quite nicely, even though some of them seem like they're whirling around in the air. I'm gonna put waffles in this just to compare. All right, this is waffles. They're not necessarily the exact waffles that came with the blaster, but same product. They actually fly significantly straighter out of this blaster for some reason. Let's move up a little bit closer and I'll actually shoot at the target. See if we can do sort of an accuracy check at like 40 feet. All right, now I'm about 40 feet out. I'm gonna see if I can actually hit this thing. One left. It did that. Not great. There's no jam door on this, so I just have to stick my hand in there. All right, I'm gonna put 4 more chilies through this thing at 40 feet. See if I can hit the target a little more. So yes, when it's firing correctly, I'm hitting the target just fine. Even the whirly shots seem to go pretty straight. And it does more or less reach the distance numbers that they promise, but I'm kind of bummed about the feeding. I don't know if this has to do with the skinny pusher or what. I kind of just want to keep putting darts through this and get a sense for why I'm having trouble with the feeding. I'm trying to just be really careful with the feeding. Right now it's feeling like it's finicky in the way that I might expect out of a hand-built 3D printed blaster that I haven't tuned up and dialed in yet, whereas I would hope for very immediate performance. Let's see. I will say that at 40 feet, hitting the target is not really a problem. I'm gonna grab a different magazine and see if that makes any difference. All right, here's a 10-round Nerf banana mag. So there's 5 waffles and then there's 5 chilies at the bottom of the mag. Same problem. Yeah, there's another one that's no good. Accuracy's doing great. Distance, power, doing great. But that feeding thing, that's a real problem. So, not great. And after having this experience with the included dart type, I went back and did some further tests. 6 magazines, each with a different dart type. We have Elites, we have Buzzbee long distance darts, Dart Zone chili darts, we have Adventure Force waffles, we have Pro darts, as well as bamboo darts. We're gonna try all of these in this blaster. We're gonna see how they behave. We'll start with the Adventure Force waffles because that's what the blaster comes with, so it should work just fine. Second shot jammed. Second shot. See, even it was working for a minute, just trying to be really methodical, and then suddenly it choked up. Yeah, double loaded. Not great. Next up, we'll try Nerf Elite darts. This is what a lot of kids will probably have lying around their house if they don't buy Adventure Force. Okay, no feeding issues with Elites, and that's almost certainly because they have a tapered head and not a squared head. Next, we're gonna try Buzzbee long distance darts. Better than waffles, not as good as Elites. Next we're gonna try chilies. They have a similar profile to the waffles, but slightly firmer foam, I think. Okay, chilies worked fine. I did have some problems with them jamming previously, but this time they seemed okay. Next, we're gonna try the Pro Dart. So this also has a head that's smaller than the foam, so we'll see if that helps with the feeding. Wow, I went through those so fast I didn't count. Those worked just fine. And finally, we're gonna do bamboos. Bamboos are essentially Pro darts, but instead of having straight foam, they have this ridged foam. So I think that's the answer. This wants pro-style darts. This wants tapered heads. But it comes with the waffles, which is frustrating because there's really nothing wrong with the design of the blaster. It's the choice of the darts that were put with the blaster. Because this uses a pusher and breech system similar to that of sealed barrel blasters like the Nexus Pro and the Skewer and the Caliburn, it much preferred the Pro style dart. In fact, I had no jams or issues of any kind when I was using this dart type. Buzzbee and Nerf darts wound up somewhere in the middle, but with the waffle head darts, I had constant problems. And these are the darts that come with the blaster. Now, if the Pyroraptor had come with maybe bright red and purple Pro darts, we'd have a different situation. They load the darts that come with it in the blaster, they play with it, they have a great time. Maybe later they discover that the waffle heads that they may have from another blaster cause problems with it, and they go, oh, I guess I shouldn't use those with this blaster, but they still have good darts, and they know what they need to search out in order to make their blaster work well. That's a very different first 10 minutes experience, and that's an experience where they enjoy the blaster enough that they're willing to search out the better, more appropriate darts. So in the end, this cosmetically beautiful, functionally very solid blaster is ruined as a toy by this bad first 10 minutes experience, by the inevitable jamming of these darts that just aren't appropriate for the power system built into this blaster. And to make matters worse, if you go to a Walmart, more of these darts are the ones for sale right next to it on the shelf. So ultimately, do I recommend this blaster for you? If you are an adult who wants to mod the blaster, absolutely. It's functionally great. It looks really, really cool. If this is the look that you want, you're going to have a ton of fun making this thing shoot really hard, and I cannot wait to see what you do. If you are a parent, I am not going to tell you not to buy it, but I am going to tell you that you need to take the extra step of going out and finding either the Dart Zone Pro darts, which come like this in red with the narrow tip, or the bamboo darts, which you can order from Target, or the Adventure Force Pro darts. So it means I have to give this really complicated recommendation, which is I love this blaster, but be careful and make sure you're getting into the right darts for it, and make sure that when you're out playing with it, your kid knows to use their own darts in it and not pick up other people's waffle heads off the ground and expect it to work smoothly. Now, with all that being said, this product gives me a lot of hope. It's so close. They could have really made this work right. It could have been an opportunity to introduce people to a new dart type, to a sort of a next level opportunity for play. And I hope that next time they don't make that mistake and they either modify the feeding mechanism so that it definitely works with the darts that they're including, or they include a different dart type. So that's that. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe. I am working to make sure that kids have a great experience in this hobby and become interested in it as they move on in their foam flinging journey. Also, be sure to check me out on all the other platforms. I'm at Family Foam Sport, literally everywhere. I'm very active on other video platforms as well as on YouTube, so be sure to find me on TikTok and Instagram. And until next time, I'll see you on the field.